But I just kind of have that moment of like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? And you kind of like go through that. And so I do that exercise of like, let myself panic for a couple seconds and then just start thinking, what are the solutions? And also like, what's the worst case scenario? And I think when you've been through, I've had businesses fail. I've had the opposite. It hasn't always been like rosy and great. And even those, like, it's not the worst. You make it through.
Yeah.
You find things in life that are still like, even when I had a business that wasn't working and it ended up going under, I was like, my kids are still all healthy. My wife's healthy. We're happy. We have so many things to be grateful for. So, this isn't the end of the world. And I think that actually helps you. And I think it makes you a better entrepreneur to just not be constantly panicking and freaking out.
Today we've got Jay Davis, owner, creator of Pillow Cube and Creatively. Right? Did I get that right? Creatively?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for the cookie already. That's so good.
We have to make you happy before the episode.
That's right.
A little bribery.
Get you some sugar.
Love it.
So tell us more a little about, or let's go into both companies right off the bat.
Yeah.
When did you start each one, and how are they doing?
Yeah. So love entrepreneurship. I've always started companies, been involved in a bunch of different things. And then in 2017, I'd sold a small creative shop to a bigger agency and was finishing up that contract and decided that I didn't know what I wanted to do. That was my decision. I was like, I don't know what to start, what to do next. And so eventually I just was like, I'm just going to do marketing for people. Like people would always ask me. I have done a lot of viral videos in the past. And so I helped start a company called The Color Run.
Okay.
No way.
And did a lot of the viral videos there. And so, yeah, it was kind of this wild experience. And then me and a friend started a YouTube channel where we did a bunch of viral videos. And so it just kind of led into people would always ask me for marketing help. So I started Creatively in 2017. And then, just started doing marketing for fast growth startups. One of our first clients was Owlet.
Okay.
Did a bunch of stuff with them. Kizik, Gab,
Those
Homie.
Kizik shoes.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they're so great.
Best shoes ever,
Yeah.
man. I have them on right now.
So we just started really looking for people who had a disruptive product that we knew was super demonstrable that we could show off. And so we create long form ads that really kind of tell the whole story of the product and why it's different and why it's better. And so we just, had a ton of great clients. And
when did you start
Creatively?
Creatively?
2017.
Okay.
So
No,
creatively was going great. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, we should do one of these on our own. And that was Pillow Cube. So Pillow Cube was 2019. And it just came from us seeing a lot of great companies grow. We got to see how a lot of these entrepreneurs worked, their approach to marketing, their approach to growth, how they built out their products. And so we were inspired and said, yeah, let's start something on our own. And that was, I've never been like an agency guy. I love doing marketing. I love consulting with people, but like I love building companies. That's really my passion. So
fun,
it wasn't
man.
a
Why
big
pillows, dude? Like, where's pillows coming from? And they're not even real pillows. These are toys that my daughter takes to Walmart with her because she doesn't want to leave the sloth pillow at home.
Yeah, our kids' pillow is a big favorite among children. And have you tried the main pillow?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
I have it on my bed, man.
Yeah, some of the products proliferation has been crazy. Like originally it really just started as really I didn't want to do pillows. It wasn't like, oh, do you know what we should do is start a bedding company.
Yeah.
That was already such like a hot space. So many things had blown up there. So that wasn't like a strategic decision or wasn't something that we planned. But we were just throwing out ideas. We were just saying, let's do a product company of our own. It's a good balance for our agency. When that has a slow time, hopefully the product company will have a fast time, and it'll be a good balance. So we just started throwing out tons of ideas and started to see what people thought. And I'd had this idea when I was like a kid. My friend growing up was Japanese. His mom told me about Asian pillow boxes and kind of like, oh yeah, in like South Korea, they have a bag filled with buckwheat, and that's their pillow. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I thought every pillow was shaped like pillows. And really, over time, even since starting PillowQ, I've realized that most people around the world don't sleep on something that looks like a pillow. So it's very different. Culturally, very different. Anciently, people slept on a lot of like neck rests, and Tongans would sleep on kind of like these blocks with bamboo leaves between them, so it kind of was almost like a hammock for your head.
All right.
So we just, I had that idea stuck in my head of, man, it'd be nice if you had a pillow that was a lot bigger, blockier. And then someone sent me some samples of some foam. It was a mattress company that wanted to work with us. And I put those samples together and laid down on it and was like, oh, this is the pillow I've been dreaming of my whole life.
Yeah.
It was just this block of foam. And so it was, I really was like, oh, that's crazy. And then I would show it to people. I just spray glued it together. I paid a seamstress $50 and she made me a cover. And I just like had this in my office, and like people would come over to our office. I'm like, hey, lay on this couch and tell me what you think. People were like, this is so stupid. And then they would lay down and just be blown away. And like, that is amazing. That's actually really comfortable. So that to me was interesting. That was like kind of the first thing that piqued my interest, was like, this looks weird, but people love it when they try it. And then we made 20 samples and we gave them to friends and family and just asked them to try it out. And then I was trying to figure out, how can we ask them whether they liked it without asking if they liked it? Because you ask your friends and family, hey, do you like that? And they're going to say yes. They're going to say, you're so smart, so cool.
Yeah.
But then they would never buy it from you. So I came up with this idea of, let's ask them if they'll give it back to us. And so I called everyone up and asked if we could have it back. And they were all like, no, I can't give it back to you. I have to keep it. So that was just
genius idea, man.
Yeah, really. That's
so it was kind of that first step.
Smart.
Yeah. So it was the first step in kind of knowing, like, okay, people aren't willing to give it back to me. They probably like it enough to pay for it. So, and then we launched a Kickstarter, and in the beginning it was nothing crazy. It was kind of just this fun side hustle that we did, and then we came up with more product ideas. And after that, we did the wider kind of bed version, which you have, and then we did the kids pillow, which you also have, which your kids love.
Yep.
And then just kind of went crazy from there.
So did you patent like the square pillow?
So we have some patents on that. That's pretty hard. It's one of those weird USPTO things where like, oh, this is too obvious. And it's like, well, no one did it until us. And they're like, yeah, but it's pretty obvious.
It's been, pillow's been around for thousands of, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know the traditional pillow forms.
I don't know.
But yeah, nobody's done it. Nobody's done it.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those weird. So we have some stuff around that, but like our new pillows are pretty heavily patented. So we're building up that portfolio more and more.
That's so cool.
As you guys know.
And what did you want to be? So now you're the pillow guy and the creatively marketing guy. What did you want to be
as a kid? Oh man.
The sloth pillow guy. I bet you didn't imagine that.
Yeah, not that. The funny thing is, I think I'm a little different in that I think a lot of entrepreneurs kind of grew up being the salesperson. Like
that's me for sure.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I am always kind of like, hey, just because you're not that doesn't mean you can't be an entrepreneur. Because I wasn't really like one of my best friends in high school sold candy out of his backpack and was just that guy. Like just total hustler, like could sell anything to anyone. And I was not. I was always like more the idea guy, thinking of stuff, kind of innovating. So funny enough, as a kid, I for a long time wanted to be a pediatrician, which is not very super entrepreneurial. And then for like most of high school, I wanted to be a professional driver, and then realized that's
like
really
a NASCAR,
weird.
Like race car.
No, like a professional driver on a closed course in commercials. Have you ever seen like on commercials it says professional driver?
I've never.
That was like what I got onto. I was like, I think I want to be that. I love driving. Like I love fast stuff, like cars.
Have you done that thing in Vegas that you get to rent the nice cars? And
it's unreal.
I've been wanting to do that.
Dude, it's so worth it. Yeah, we actually did so I own a VR camera, and we went and did a production for them, and so we got to drive like everything.
Oh, that's
it was so fun. It was like one of the funnest days of my life. Yeah, we got to drive like the Ferraris, Lambos. It's well worth it.
Yeah.
You also get an F1 coach in the car with you,
Wow.
and they just scream at you in semi-Italian English just to go faster. So it's super fun. So yeah, and then like for a while in high school, I wanted to be a chef.
Mhm.
I was kind of always like jumping around. I like doing a lot of different things. I love to cook. Like to drive fast cars. So yeah, I was kind of jumping. I didn't really think much about it, but now I look back and I'm like, oh, I was totally gonna be this the whole time because my dad owned his own company and all we talked about was business. It was just like strategy. Why is this company doing this? Like that was when I was 14. What me and my dad talked about, or basketball. Those two things.
At what point did you decide like, hey, I'm going out to business because this is the most profitable business ever, or this is what I love doing, this is fun, this brings happiness, joy?
Yeah, I don't think ever on the profitability.
You're just going for the fun.
Yeah, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs that I know, being an entrepreneur is really hard. It's not like the most I don't know if profitable is the right word, but it's not always. There's a lot of ways to make money. I think probably easier than being an entrepreneur. But I think for me, it's more, I see those like pain points in my life and I love finding stuff that's like, oh, this is so annoying. Why hasn't someone done this? And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it. So, and I just don't have that filter of, no, I shouldn't. This is a bad idea. I'm like, no, who cares? And so, yeah.
So your fulfillment is solving the problem.
Yes. Yeah. I'm really not like the process guy. I'm not the how to make the trains run on time guy either. I'm the here's this big idea. How do we do it? Try and figure that out, and then from there, it's just always staying true to that vision. Is kind of where I spend most of my time in the businesses. Is how do we stay true to that bigger idea? So.
And you have some kids, right?
I do. Yeah, I have 4 girls, ages 13 down to 2.
Okay.
So.
Which direction do you think they're going in? Are they following Jay?
I don't know. I could see some of them. My focus is really trying to push them like, hey, you can kind of do anything you want. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I see, especially with creatively and owning that, is that I think a lot of these careers that when I was a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s were like the safe choice have now become not necessarily a safe choice. And a lot of the things that were looked down on are now like the best careers you can go into. Design, a lot of artists, creators. Those just weren't, I mean, those really didn't even exist back then in the same way. So I'm trying to encourage my kids to, hey, learn a lot of those skill sets that if you're good, doesn't matter what degree you have, right? Like if I find an amazing designer who's works fast, they do great work, I don't really care where they went to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to encourage my kids to do those things. So a lot of art, a lot of design, music, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I asked my 5-year-old what you want to be. She's like, I want to be everything. I was like, what is everything? I want to be a police officer. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a dancer. I want to do hair. I want to, and then she goes, and I want to own that dirty dough. I was like, all right, there we go.
Like I have your franchise for you already locked down.
Speaking of that,
Dude, that's awesome.
Trying to sell my 5-year-old daughter a franchise.
Yeah, dude, that's so great. It's
but
so fun when kids, that's their response. Like, I want to own a dirty dough. It's like that.
Like, I just want to do everything. I was like, sweet, go freaking do everything. But I'm also always kind of asking myself, like, what? I don't want to steer her in one direction or the other, but I also, which jobs tend to give more joy and fulfillment versus other ones. Like, I think entrepreneurship is very stressful and it is very hard. But I also feel, at least for me, it's super rewarding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's the huge difference. And really what drives me is I love hearing those stories of people who use the product and love the product. Mm-hmm. We own some other companies too. We own this company called StairSlide. And it's like a slide.
No, you don't, dude.
Yeah.
We just heard about.
You did too?
Yeah. No,
I was over at my neighbor's and he was showing me this on Amazon. And I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm going to get this.
What is it exactly?
It's
I mean,
a
I've heard
slide
about
you put
it.
on your stairs and it nests, so you can build like an.
Yeah.
So we did one at BYU, the BYU football game. Cosmo went down like 100 of them in a row, and then did like a flip onto the field.
No
so he
way.
like flew like 20 feet in the air, and they had a big pad. I'll have to show you guys the video after.
That's
It's pretty wild.
insane. Yeah.
So they're just slides that nest, but you can build it out. So if you have a straight set of like 12, 13 stairs, you can build a whole slide down your stairs.
That is
So I'm
insane.
over at my neighbor's house. This is
Yeah.
November 10th. And he shows me this. I did not look it up on my freaking phone. And then I go home and the next day, man, there's your ad.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah,
Facebook
what,
does
yeah,
it.
what kind of
No, it's
marketing?
you,
You
man.
listening in on it?
Did you put a chip
I
in,
wish.
in my buddy's
I
house?
wish they would give us that data.
How do they do that though, man? That blew my mind. I was like, I never even touched anything. I've never heard a
Yeah.
stair slide. And then my
Do you have the Facebook app installed on your phone?
they listen to me.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You think so?
100%.
Well, I mean,
Really?
I text them that and I'm like, dude, I've
Like,
seen videos.
1,000% yes.
Oh my God.
Really?
We've done tests in the office where we will choose a random place to go on vacation. Not really, but like theoretically.
Yeah.
And we will talk about that for one day. Hey, do you think we should go to Fiji? Oh yeah, we should totally go to Fiji. That's awesome. And it's always a place we choose somewhere weird enough that none of us have been there.
Yeah.
Never said it before. Usually don't even know. Within 2 days, you'll get ads for that.
I mean,
place.
I've never
Yeah.
heard of anyways.
Yes.
That's pretty.
Same thing with
I
stairs,
can't believe
like-
that's your freaking company, man. My
Yeah.
buddy just bought that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to buy that too.
That's like one of the things that is really fun is
That's so fun.
even
dude.
with creatively advertising things and people are like, oh yeah, I've heard of that, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you've seen this ad, like, oh yeah, we made that ad. Like it's
Yeah.
really fun to create
that
things.
Thread wallet ad, man, you guys
Yeah.
crushed
Oh,
it.
thank you.
Right,
Yeah.
It's
No,
so,
it's so fun.
it's such a good one.
And it's great because you have great like Thread's another one, Kizik, like they just have killer products, so it makes it so easy because
Yeah.
then they get the product and they're like, and the product's great. So we try and be pretty picky on only working with
Yeah,
stuff
man,
that's
we-
really great.
What does the dirty dough count as really great?
Oh,
we
dude, that
want
cookie
you,
was
bro.
amazing.
Did we make the cut?
Yes.
That's the
We
question.
want you to
I
do
love
some
the cookie.
3-layer cookie videos for
Dude.
us, man.
I'm in. No, that's we always love stuff where, and I think like the cookies are a perfect example. It's something that's different. It's new. It's a new way of doing something, but it's usually something that is not like way out there.
Yeah.
These are perfect like
Dude,
pillows.
stair slide is way
cookies.
out there, brother.
Nobody's
The
ever-
stair slide is sick.
It's pretty crazy. So we were the original investor in that,
Okay.
and they came to us, and I was like, oh, dude, this makes so much sense. It was a dad who came up with the idea,
Mhm.
and super great guy. And it was just that idea of we've all built this on our stairs.
Yeah.
Every kid has made, mattress, sleeping bag, cardboard,
Gymnastics mats. That's
gymnastic
what, that's
mats.
what my
Yeah.
kids slide down
Yeah.
my stairs with.
So everyone's done it, and it just makes it safer, but it also makes it faster and more fun. And so it was just that instant. Like he showed me the product, and I was like, yes, I'm in. Like,
Yeah.
how much money do you need? We invested, and then eventually, as it just continued to scale, he already owned a bunch of franchises
Mhm.
and of a pizza brand, and so he was like, I'm so busy with this. What if you guys took it over? So we bought it from him, and it's been amazing. So it's been
That's
super
cool,
fun.
man. I need to get one now. Now I'm
Oh,
sold.
they're great. Just come to
I
the
didn't know it
office.
was
How
yours,
did
man.
when you were at the office, I should have given you some.
Dude,
So-
yeah, he hooks it up when you go visit his office.
Yeah, come on over and we'll get
Well,
you some
yeah,
slides for your
I'll
kids.
be there tomorrow.
Yeah, we're just down in Linden, so
That's awesome.
Dude,
Come
you
on,
have
come on
such a good, happy personality. And that was the first time we met too at your office. You're just like, yeah, man, this and that. And he has freaking dope shoes that he hides from his
do love
wife.
shoes.
Oh yeah.
Holy
Get
shit.
those feet up. Get those feet up here on the table. Let's see him.
They're nothing
Ah,
crazy
nice.
today. Just
No,
some,
but you go to his office,
some
man.
one highs.
There's a ton. And he's like, these are the ones I don't want to take home so my wife doesn't see them.
Yeah. There's too many pairs. And my wife knows. She's like, I haven't seen those yet, and I'm like, oh dang it. Yeah. I'm a recovering shoe addict.
There you go.
I've deleted the apps. It's
So
like,
here's where I was going with the personality and the shoes. Well, just the personality. Entrepreneurship, you said it yourself, like it's hard. You could do
Yeah.
other things to make money. How do you keep that attitude? And then a kind of follow-up question is, does that go away? Does that attitude go away for a few days and you're like, oh crap, I'm in the pits right now?
So I think a lot of that is, I think it's good to have a balance. I just definitely recognize that I'm the eternal optimist. like with partners. It's like, hey, you can be that kind of counterbalance to me. You know, balance me out because I'm always just like, everything's great, we're gonna be fine. I think a lot of that comes as you have more entrepreneurial experiences. You also just start to be more insulated.
Is it more like you're trusting yourself? Because like I've built XYZ company, I've done it this way, this way, this way. There was problems over there, and I'm confident I can solve them.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of it. Probably in earlier businesses, I was less happy and probably more stressed. But I even then, like, I'm pretty positive. I'm just not someone who's like, oh, this sucks.
Is there anything you have to do or any advice you'd give to somebody that is in, like, and everything's not perfect?
Yeah.
How do you pull yourself up from that mentally as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I do. One thing is, I think a lot of times we spend a lot of time, and I kind of stole this from a TV show, but we spend a lot of time just sitting there and freaking out. And so did you guys ever watch Lost?
No.
Yeah.
The TV show? Okay.
A little bit.
So I think it's the first episode. Jack has like a shard of metal in his back. And he's like telling this girl, Kate, like, you got to pull it out. And she's like, I cannot do that. He's like, you'll be fine. And he tells her this story of how when he was a brain surgeon, I think.
He was some kind of doctor.
Some kind of surgeon. And he talks about how he like split the spinal sac on accident. Like he cut it open and all the nerves fell out. And so he just kind of was like panicking. And so he learned this trick of he would panic for 5 seconds and then he'd get to work. And so ever since then, that's just kind of like stuck in my head of there's so many times, even today, like, hey, this happened, our foam saw that cuts all our foam is broken. It's like, okay, crap. Like you could panic. It's freaking Black Friday week.
Yeah.
And we're like full production, just pounding. And now all of a sudden it's been down for 2 hours and you're like, oh, this is not great. But I just kind of have that moment like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? And you kind of like go through that. And so I do that exercise of like, let myself panic for a couple seconds and then just start thinking, what are the solutions? And also like, what's the worst case scenario? And I think when you've been through, I've had businesses fail. I've had the opposite. It hasn't always been like rosy and great. And even those, like, it's not the worst. You make it through.
Yeah.
You find things in life that are still like, even when I had a business that wasn't working and it ended up going under, I was like, my kids are still all healthy. My wife's healthy. We're happy. We have so many things to be grateful for. So, this isn't the end of the world. And I think that actually helps you. And I think it makes you a better entrepreneur to just not be constantly panicking and freaking out. So Simon Sinek has this story he tells about leaders and just kind of about how young leaders often have the same skill set as more experienced leaders, but they've only ever done it in good weather. They can raise a sail, but only in good weather. They've never been through a storm. And so I think that's a lot of same thing with as an entrepreneur. You start to go through these things, and you talk to great entrepreneurs, and they're like, what's the scariest it's gotten? And it's like, I've gotten to the point where like I've moved bank accounts, like I've done anything to make sure that I'm like not being shut down. Nothing illegal, but like, I'm making sure that I'm like
resources.
Yeah, like I'm pulling money from anywhere I can pull. I've remortgaged my house, like all of these things. Like you keep the doors open, and you talk to those people, and those people have just been through that. Like you go and pitch, you go find someone. I remember I was at Vivint, and Todd's like one of my entrepreneurial heroes, and I got to see a lot of what he was like. And there was a week where Vivint was like, if we don't raise $100 million, we're like screwed in the next week. And he like flew to New York, got $100 million, and came back and was like, okay, we're good.
That's
I
crazy.
was like, dude, the like balls on that guy to be able to be like, meh, I'll figure it out.
Dragging on the ground.
Yeah. It's insane. Like $100 million.
That is crazy.
Yeah, like, but at the time, like Vivint, this was probably 2010. Like Vivint wasn't that big. I mean, we probably did $300-400 million that year. It's a good chunk of money. considering where they're at. But like he just had that attitude of like, I will figure it out.
Yeah.
And if not, I'll figure something else out. Or if not, and that, I think that's, you have to have that balance of, you still got to go do it. You can't just sit around and wait for everything to happen. But I'm constantly amazed how we'll do do everything we can to try and figure stuff out. And it's amazing just kind of how stuff lands.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that worst case scenario, that's me, dude. I'm always playing that out. Because if I don't, then I'm stressing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, worst case scenario is this falls through. And then I'm going to go to this. And then if that falls through, I'm going to go to this, and this. And even this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Even this, I still have a house.
Yeah.
I'm still with my family and we still have food. Worst case scenario, I'm fine. Yeah. And I have to do that, I swear, once a month.
I do too. Yeah.
Once every other week.
Yeah. Yeah. I like balance, like, okay, let's say the foam saw breaks.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year. It's like, oh, that would suck. What would we even do? Because we're doing pretty like on demand manufacturing. Now we have fail safes and we have partners who can do it on basically like 48 hours notice. But assuming we didn't have any of that stuff, it's like, what's the worst that happens? It's like, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Like that, and you build as many of the fail safes as you can. But I just think that's a part of entrepreneurship. I think a lot of times entrepreneurship is too oversold. Like everyone should be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, not in that camp. I think you have to have that ability to kind of look at all the worst case scenarios and like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was definitely in that camp.
Yeah.
And specifically on the sales side, when I was in sales, like everybody should do it. And then, but like people just don't want to, and they don't find the enjoyment. Like I get that dopamine when I land a deal, and I love it. And it drove me insane when other people I was like, well, if you just work harder, you would sell more. If you just studied more, you'd sell more. People just didn't want it. And that's why I'm like, okay, not everybody wants the same thing, including entrepreneurship, because it's just like, it's stressful.
Yeah. There's days where I look at the people who, that I know who don't ever look at their email or their phone. I'm like, what would that be like? Holy cow.
Yeah, seriously.
I get very jealous. Like, you haven't looked at your phone this week?
Yeah.
They're like, no,
So you
cool.
brought up Simon Sinek.
Simon
Sinek. He's famous for the why.
Yes. Yeah. Start with why.
Start with why. Have you gone through that? And if so, what is the why that you've done?
I should go through it more in depth. I think for me, the why is really like, it's really trying to find those solutions to problems. Like that's really what drives me. I love to innovate. I love to find new ideas.
Is it finding the idea, or is it bringing that idea to market? Or is it reading the customer reviews? Is it the freedom that the money gives you? Or like what, if you can nail it down a little bit.
What point along the road are you getting those dopamine hits? So you're getting that joy.
So I think for me, it's seeing a trend or an opportunity in the marketplace no one has seen, then developing a product and then getting it to the point where people buy it and like it. Like that process. And I love, I feed off of this is dumb, no one's going to buy it. Like, oh.
I'm going to prove you wrong. Yeah.
There were so many people who thought Pillow Cube was dumb. And so for me, that's that rush of, and I think that's how I think in general, is I like looking for things that, I like looking for things that no one has seen before. Like I have this friend I was talking to this week, and we were talking kind of about what drives us. And for me, or also what annoys us, I always struggle when I share a new idea with someone. It's like, hey, you've never heard this, but, listen to this. And then they're like, no, I don't believe it. And you're like, dude, I just told you, go research it, go think about it, then tell me what you think. They're like, no, I don't believe it already. And that for me drives me nuts. Because I love finding those things that no one has thought of and then are true.
It's weird. I used to be very intimidated by that thought. Like, how can I think of something that nobody else has thought of?
Yeah.
And there's billions of people on the planet right now, and then you look at the history.
Yeah.
There's 10 billion people that have lived in just the past decade or whatever. And I'm like, there's no way that nobody's thought of this.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, maybe they have, but they just didn't have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
And then there's a bajillion ideas out there, right?
Yeah.
Or they did it, but they didn't, right? I mean, because what we're doing with cookies, it's like, but you just centralize everything?
Yeah.
just do it. Just buy the special machines and just weather the storms. Like, we're not the first ones to think of that, but we are the first ones doing it. And that was very intimidating because I kept telling myself there's no way that Bennett can be the first one to think of something.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people out there.
Well, and I think that's what's fun is it's kind of that combination of like having the idea is one thing, then getting it to a solution where it works and it's something people like, and that kind of gamut is small because we've all done this where we've seen something and said, "Man, I thought about that 5 years ago,"
Right.
Yep.
And it's like, "Yeah, but you didn't do it. You didn't make it. You had the thought." And I like saw this matrix once from I think it was the Google guys put it together, but they talked about how the kind of holy grail in entrepreneurship is an amazing idea with amazing execution. And if you get to the kind of the top right and the bottom left, like the bottom right is amazing execution, amazing idea. That's where you're going to get the most money. An amazing idea and crappy execution doesn't get you much. Mediocre execution and amazing idea doesn't get you much. And then the same is true of like mediocre idea with amazing execution is still kind of in that same, but you get that amazing idea. And I think that's the duality of entrepreneurship I love. I think it's that like a lot of people have great ideas, but a lot of people can't turn them into something. And so I love kind of that middle ground of I want to have great ideas, but I also want to actually act.
Do you have a process for coming up with new ideas, innovative ideas, new products, things like that? Or do you feel like you're just kind of naturally gifted and creative?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it is there's definitely some natural abilities. I think one of those is I'm super impatient. So I'm like a super impatient person. I hate waiting. I also hate inefficiency. So any meeting with like school or church, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so inefficient.
Do you watch The Office?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You remember that scene where Kevin Malone, who you don't watch The Office, do you?
No, I've seen them.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen them all.
So Kevin Malone, the typically not very smart, talks really slow.
Yeah.
It cuts to the scene and he goes, I have very short patience for stupid people.
Yeah.
So that made me think of
Dude, he's so great. He's like my favorite character. The episode where they think when what's her name? Holly.
And she thinks that he's
mentally handicapped. It's like one of the funniest episodes ever. But yeah, like I think that impatience is part of it. I think the other thing is like friction. I observe friction. So that's kind of like almost an engineering kind of side of my mind of I see things and like that's super weird that we do that way.
Yeah.
It's not super efficient. And then I also think I'm just not, and I think that a lot of this comes from my dad, so I think it's more learned, but I like very like kind of likes thinking the ideas that no one thinks. So he would always kind of throw out ideas that are like, everyone thinks this, but what about this? And I think, oh yeah, that's actually really true. Why don't we do it that way? And so I think he trained me in many ways to be willing to say, who cares if no one makes pillows? I mean, when I first thought of Pillow Cube, I shared it with some people who were in the industry, and they just had a whole list of reasons why, oh, that's going to be really hard to do. So one of them is that cut foam. So when you cut foam into blocks, that's the most expensive way to make a pillow. Second down from that is you inject foam into a mold. That's kind of a lot cheaper. And then the cheapest is anything made of shredded materials. So shredded foam. My pillow is just shredded polyfill. That's the cheapest way. So like a My Pillow that they sell for $60 probably costs like $1.50 to make.
Wow.
Where Pillow Cube is like 10 to 15 times that, depending on which one. So kind of for comparison, it's like, so a lot of people said that, hey, it's really expensive to make pillows that way. No one makes pillowcases that fit that. And for me, I just saw opportunity.
You're like, cool, I can make pillowcases too.
Yeah, we'll make our own pillowcases, and you'll only be able to buy pillowcases from us. That's fine if that's an expensive way to make it. Over time, I'll figure out cheaper ways to make it. And we have, as volume increases, like we're now at a point where our foam is so specialized and so great that if you just bought one single pillow as like a consumer off the shelf, it'd be probably $150 just for the foam.
Wow.
But because of the bulk we're buying it in, that we get a really great products. So people who have knocked us off aren't even in our ballpark. But visually, when you look at it, you're like, well, that's a block of foam. That's a block of foam. It's like, yeah, that feels like styrofoam, and this feels super soft, and it has cooling properties, and it has all these other things in it. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of that learning.
This is what you need to do. I pitched this to my wife, and she said it was the stupidest thing ever. So I don't know, maybe it exists, and maybe you just come up with it, and you kick me a royalty if you want.
Okay.
A cooling pillow that has like
Royalty.
I'm just kidding, but it never gets hot or anything because everyone loves the cool side of the pillow. So I said, man, why doesn't someone just make like a very extremely thin ice pack or something, or a pillowcase that has just a little bit of that blue ice pack in it.
Yeah.
Throw it in the freezer. That way you can have a cool pillow for longer. So by the time you fall asleep, you don't care. But
do I have a product for you?
Yeah.
It's actually called the Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Really?
I
And
need
you
to
throw it in
buy
the
one.
freezer?
That's awesome.
So you don't put it in the freezer. So it's
Or you put something.
so we're launching a
in the
new
freezer?
version of it in April. You're
Yeah.
gonna love it. I'll get you one right away.
I love it.
You can be my first beta tester.
Perfect.
So the one we have right now it's a material in the shell. There's something called phase change material, and it basically makes it so it's cold.
Mhm.
It like cools itself. It's really weird. The scientists have explained how it works. I don't get it still.
And that's
after
what
explaining
I
it.
figured there had to be, because again, it goes back to,
Yeah.
oh, I can't be the first one to have this
Yeah.
idea. I mean, obviously someone has thought of it, but
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And then the new version that we're doing is going to have, there's a new material made by some guys in LA called Cool Coat, and we're putting that on it as well. So the actual foam has cooling material in it.
Mhm.
Then on top, it's like kind of almost like a plasti dip, if you've ever seen plasti dip.
Yeah.
It's kind of dipped into that, and that's cooling. And then we have a cooling shell, and then a cooling case.
That is so
So
cool.
it's going to be really, like, I sleep with it, and I'm like, that's too cold. Like,
Really?
It's that cold.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it.
It really is an ice cube.
Please tell me you've reached out to Ice Cube so that he can be your
We
spokesman.
have.
Have you really?
Yeah, we've looked at we've bid
Would
it
that
out
be so
to
cool?
have him be the spokesperson.
And has he responded? Is he?
Yeah, it's not it's not as hard as you think to get a price. It's just the price is up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So like we looked at doing what's that called? All the office people do them. Cameo.
Mhm.
So we looked at doing one of those, and we also asked him if he was like, the sponsor or the spokesperson. So
right.
it's pretty
Well,
pretty
that's
pricey.
cool.
What kind of a price range would you need, to be a spokesperson?
So to start to do like a 1-minute cameo you can use for advertising purposes, I think was $20,000.
Wow.
And that was just like he can film whatever he wants and he'll film it on his phone.
Yeah.
And then if you want like, hey, come be in a commercial, you get into the 6 figures, 7 figures pretty quick. So
Wow.
it's pretty well.
Could you imagine? He'd be like in his mean voice and everything. This is the Ice Cube from Ice Cube. That'd be so cool.
I would love it. I would love it. That's
That's
where it
fun,
starts
man.
to get like pretty wild when you start. And creatively, it's fun like that. We get a bid weird stuff.
Dude, I'm
We-
excited for you guys to meet tomorrow about creatively.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
That'll be great.
It's
Get some
it
videos.
is
up.
such a creative. We just did have you seen Sweater Ventures?
Yes, I have.
So we did all their marketing. We were one of the first investors in the parent org, and in their video is the monkey from Hangover.
Oh, really?
So we, yeah. So also another wild, like, how much is the monkey? Okay, how much if we train him to do something new?
Yeah.
So we trained him to throw darts for this video,
Wow.
and it was
Smart monkey.
Yeah, he's so smart.
Hopefully he
He's
doesn't
insane.
get mad at someone and throw a dart at him.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude,
They,
that's
they
good.
don't have that.
Is that same monkey in a ton of different movies, or
Oh.
is it just that type of monkey?
It's so there is. It's not the same monkey. I think there was some relation, but it's a different monkey, same type of monkey, but a different monkey that was in Friends. But looks very similar. But yeah, they're in like.
There's like
everything.
night at the
Mhm.
museum.
So it's the same monkey that's in the Night of Museum. So it's Night of Museum. He was in Hangover. He's in like 100 things.
Wow.
Does he have a name? This is like
I
I'm
can't
asking
remember.
such dumb questions, but I'm so curious.
No, dude, it's fascinating. Like you go to his IMDb and it's like longer
Let's go
than
get an
many
autograph from this
great
monkey.
actors.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. There's a guy here in Utah who does animals, and so he originally started with a bear named Bart
Mhm.
the bear, and that bear was in everything. And then now he's bought a lot more bears and he has more bears. But one of his bears was in Revenant with
Oh no way.
Leonardo DiCaprio. So yeah, it's wild.
That's crazy.
There's a whole world. I actually really love that as an entrepreneur that you get to learn about these
all these
parts of
different
industries that you would
industries.
never.
You imagine talking that guy's growth strategy? Well, I have
Yeah.
6 bears now.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to get up to 12 bears.
with
Yeah.
$100,000 investment. I think it's
I would love to see
Anyways,
his
man.
pitch deck.
Last question for you, Jay. We're wrapping up already.
Yeah.
That went quick because we're talking about bears and
Yeah.
monkeys and
That's fun
It's a
though. I
wild
love it.
conversation.
the slides, man. I'm gonna come pick one of those up for you.
Dude,
dude.
come grab 'em.
I'll exchange some cookies for you.
Okay.
What do you want to be known for when you're gone? Like, what's the legacy that Jay wants to leave behind?
So I think a lot of it's probably a big part of it's innovation. I really want to. I think that's kind of where I want to head is that ability to think differently and look at things differently and innovate. And then I think another thing I really want to be known for is just being able to create businesses. And I think a lot of this comes from bad experiences, but create businesses that share in that growth. And there are tons of entrepreneurs who are great examples of that, but I just want to continue in that where a lot of the people are able to share in that. So I've been part of many businesses where there's kind of only one person making the money. And so, yeah, I want it to be something where we get to the end and
Everybody's happy.
everyone's like, man, that was amazing.
I love that.
Changed my life. So,
Not just changing your life, you're changing all your employees' life.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm sure your kids love you for creating that slide or buying that company, man.
Yeah.
And then the pillow clip. I'm just like, I don't want my daughters to meet you, dude. They're gonna be like, "What are you doing, Dad? Cookies?
So many.
You could be
fun
making
ones, man.
sloth pillows and slides of these videos."
Yeah.
Seriously.
So if we ever see each other at Walmart, I'm not talking to you. Thanks, brother.
I'll just be like,
I was like, I don't know that a-hole.
Who is that guy?
no, it's that's what's fun. Like I really love the kids. It's really fun being an entrepreneur and that your kids become like
They
excited
like
about
your
the brand.
products.
All the time in middle school and elementary school, they'll be doing something on the computer, and some kid will be like, "It's the Pillow Cube ad again." I'm like, "Oh, that's great. It's fun."
it's
My
so
kids
cool.
get to have a little moment of, "Hey, my dad does that." So
Yep.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks for coming on, Jay.
yeah,
Really
thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Where can we follow you?
So you can follow me really on LinkedIn's probably the best place. So Jay Davis on LinkedIn, and then Instagram. You can follow any of our brands. So,
Sweet.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks.